Hello and welcome to my channel When the Stars Aligned. My name is Kelly and today's video is a free flow that's inspired by the kind of day I'm having. And the topic is how to tell when deceased loved ones, guides, or angels are reaching out to you from the ethers. This is spurred by kind of a recurring experience I have. So I've got a few very trusty angels in the ethers from this physical lifetime who have passed, the strongest one being my father. He passed when I was 17, and him and I have still, but had a very deep karmic connection. I know he played a massive role in my life in both his presence and his absence, and maybe even more so in his absence, because we had a really interesting relationship from childhood on. He was actually kind of gone for a good chunk of my super developmental years, around the age of like 2 to 4. He was like away from the family, which is a different story. I don't feel the need to really get into that. All in perfect plot line. Him and I though had a really, really strong bond. And I think he was here to play a major role in my life. And even if I look at a lot of my personal astrology, or I have different sessions with coaches or mentors or guides, which I actually don't do too much of. I don't work with too many astrologers. I'm super picky about that. Not picky, discerning. They say like, oh, your father, he's really important in your life, isn't he? I'm like, yeah, but he's like in the ethers. And he communicates with me a lot, so I'm gonna base this video off of really strong signs I notice in my connection with him. However, the way these things work, it's often so much bigger than our mind can fathom, right? Because I can think, oh, that's my dad communicating, but perhaps it's also various angels and guides and guardians in the guise of my father. And I think that's really the first thing here, is realizing it's so much more than just one beloved or one loved one. And this is something that often comes up in the clients I work with, like, well, does this person have anything to say in that person? And often what comes through for me intuitively in the space I'm able to access is it's so much bigger than that. Like, yes, it could be a best friend that passed, or a grandmother, or a mother, or a father, or someone really close, but it's also so much more than them. It's like all the souls that fed their soul, and then all the souls that fed their soul, and then the ones who were supporting them in the physical but also in the ethers. It's this ancestral line. So what are some ways that you can notice? Well, for me today, my dad's been super strong in my field, and this happens every once in a while. Sometimes I command him to come forth, and he does, and often he'll spring in when I need him, in a moment of affirmation or in a moment of love and support, and that was the case today. Going through some growing pains, and I'm actually super grateful for that. I love that that's happening, and it's tough, and it brings me face to face with a lot of my, like, some of my patterning that's not so healthy for me, which I've grown in strength to catch myself, but there's nothing like feeling tender support from those that you love. And I noticed I was mimicking a lot of, if you follow me on Instagram, I posted a story about this today, but I thought I'd share it with my community here. I noticed I was mimicking a lot of my dad's patterns, but I didn't notice it until maybe about an hour in. And then it hit me as I was having these realizations. Oh, I did that just like my dad. Oh, I did that, and I just bought that. That's kind of strange. Like, why am I wanting these things? And I was like, oh, my dad's here. Look, I even came to one of his favorite spots, just subconsciously. So I do find that that's one way we can see that our guides or past loved ones are communicating with us through our subconscious actions. Maybe you notice you're doing something in a way like your grandmother used to, or that best friend that you lost, well, that died in the physical used to. I try not to say lost, because I don't really think we lose. Ultimately, I think we gain more than we could ever imagine. Anyway, different story. Yeah, like mimicking patterns, I think, is a big way, because it's like that person's energy body and their ways of being are coming in and fusing with your own. And in that, there's like a bonding, there's a merging, there's a shared energy, there's a shared like personality. And I could feel that really strongly. Other ways I find our songs. Perhaps it's like there's a couple songs that my dad kind of dedicated to me. One that he would always sing to me, and he'd ask me to sing with him, and then one that even like at his funeral, he had like a song dedicated for me, a song dedicated for my brother, and a song dedicated for my sister. And it's a pretty old song, but like in very key moments, that song will come on the radio, or I'll go into a shop and I'll even say like I need some guidance, and that song will come on. So I think that music is a really powerful way that our guides can communicate with us. And it's about, honestly, it's about deeper listening. What is it to deeply listen? To not just listen, but to hear what's going on. Because if we're checked out of the present, it's challenging for our guides to communicate with us. Or they can give us a big slap, right? And sometimes that's really great. Like maybe a name on a board in front of you. But even then sometimes, that stuff can flash by. So I think it's about, if you're looking to have deeper connection with the ethers, with your guides, with your angels, are you cultivating space in your life for silence? Like for me, I have a lot of silence in my life. I've got a tight group of, I wouldn't even call them friends, like soulmates. And even in that, there's like a beautiful spaciousness. And I spend a lot of time by myself, being with myself, being in nature, doing my sacred work, connecting with clients, creating, reading, breathing, playing, dancing, getting inspired. I cultivate a lot of space for silence in my life, and that allows me to attune and see things. Because if we are constantly in action and in conversation and on call, yes, there can still be beautiful synchronicities, right? Because that may emerge in the connection with another. I do find though that if you're looking for personal soul connection, cultivating silence in your life, cultivating spaciousness, cultivating slowness and attentiveness and deep listening is a really big part of that. So what other ways do I notice it? Sometimes it's a feeling in nature. I may feel like a gust of wind, and I know. And I can't really explain this. I'm gonna do my best, but maybe some of you can relate even just hearing that. Perhaps if I'm in, again, a kind of a meditative space, walking down a path or in the woods, and I drop into what I call deep space. Even if I'm walking, I don't have headphones or anything, it's just even if I have headphones, actually, sometimes, something drops. It's my attention goes from, my hair's all kind of funky today, my attention goes from here to here, or even down into my womb, and I just feel myself sink. I can even feel it now, because it's been the space I've been in this morning. And from that space, the way I interact and engage with nature gives me messages. So the wind blowing in my hair no longer feels like the wind blowing in my hair. It feels like messages. It feels like a caress from spirit. It feels like a whisper. It feels like an embrace. Or the sun on my face doesn't just feel like heat, it feels like love. It feels like reassurance. It feels like support. Or the earth beneath my feet, if I take my shoes off, it doesn't just feel like dirt, it feels like home. It feels like soul nourishment through my feet. And the birds chirping no longer just sounds like noise, it sounds like words and messages. Perhaps not in the, in the English alphabet, but in some soul alphabet. So I feel giving space to tune into nature and let yourself drop to that deep space, and your own way will be unique to you, or it may be similar to what I shared. I think it's about not having an expectation, because when we start to have an expectation, we really cut off the receptivity of receiving a miracle. When we're expecting something and looking and looking and looking, we won't see what's right before our eyes. But when we soften our gaze, like Tantra, when we see that we're part of all of it, and the tree isn't looking around all right, wind, when are you going to come? Or sun, when are you going to feed me? It's in a very natural cycle. It's an ecosystem. So allowing yourself to trace back to your, like, really your primal roots of also being a part of that ecosystem. Yes, you have your identity, you have your jobs, your responsibility, your loved ones, maybe you have children, you know, you have these responsibilities, and you as a human spirit are part of a greater ecosystem. And that's something that you can tap into whenever you wish. So that's a really powerful way for me, taking a walk in nature and letting nature undo me. It's like I don't have to do anything. If I just walk and devote to being open, I feel like the debris and I feel the masks like peel away. Any other ways? So we've got music, we've got habits, we've got nature. Yeah, presence, stillness, and you can call upon them. There's a really, all right, one last thing I'll share is there's a powerful practice you can do called aspecting. I don't know why I feel so weird to say that. It's like ass. Anyway, aspecting is when it's a shamanic practice, but anybody can do it. You know, I think we're all deeply shamanic because we're freaking human beings and we have these crazy capacities and alchemies that we're just not taught about. But you sit and you could put a cushion in front of you and you call that person into the space. So let's say I'm like calling in my dad, I'd put a cushion there and I would just set the container in whatever way felt right for me. Like, all right, I'm setting this container for a little next bit of time to connect with my dad. Yeah, so I put the cushion there and I close my eyes and I invite him in. I say, all right, will you please enter the space? And I just sit with myself until I feel some kind of shift in my energy body or shift in the room or the dynamic. And don't look too hard. Trust your gut, trust your instincts. This is a great way to decondition this whole like right or wrong thing. There's no right or wrong. It's purely an extension of your spirit and your intuition. So you call that person in and you sit with them and you can visualize their presence, feel that shared heart space. You can ask them questions, see what they have to tell you. And then when you're ready to close the space, you close it. Like, it's important to close the space and say like, oh, thank you for being here, and now the space is closed. You can be more elegant if you wish, or do whatever kind of process, but it's important to like release that person's soul from the space. So claiming that closure also enables really clean connections with that person's soul, so that you know they're showing up as them, not this like very muddled and tangled connection. Yeah. So these are some things that are flowing through for me today. That's a practice I do a lot, actually, and you can do it with anybody. You can do it with people who are still in your world or still alive, as a way to make peace, to express things, to share your heart, to, you know, it's a really powerful practice. And I just always recommend open the space, close the space, bring love and gratitude and heart to the space. Yeah, so if you found this video supportive in any way or helpful, I'd love to hear below. And if you have other things, I'm sure there are so many more ways, and I know for myself there have been so many more ways. This is just what's coming through right now in how to connect with deceased loved ones or angels and guides, and to feel their presence in your life. So lots of love to you all. Sending blessings from my heart to yours. I'll see you in the next video.